So here's an important question, I think, from Lynn Jardin, saying, could a greater focus on food security and mental well-being as a public health issue be used to persuade government bodies to release land for huts? Because this harks back to your early point about the politics of leisure and how important leisure is in people's lives, and the fact that our leisure is so commodified, arguably so expensive, and for many people out with their they can't get hold of sufficient leisure time.
Well, to answer Lynn's point, though, whether food security would help, no, because actually the history of allotments, as Andy was beginning to talk through, is actually worse than the history of hutting. I mean, all these countries, people will invariably say things like, oh, but actually the Scots probably have more caravans. No, we didn't. The Norwegians have more caravans as well. What about boats? The Norwegians have more boats than Britain per head of the population. Allotments, yep, they have fewer allotments, but that's obviously because most people now have a hut. But the allotments they do have, which date from the 1909 period, when the first Labour government, there was the first Labour-run council in Oslo, there was a huge expansion in allotments. And of course, nobody even argued about it. I couldn't find an argument. Everyone built a hut on their allotment, just as you described with the Schrebergarten in Germany. Across Europe, where there has been fairness in land ownership, it was a no-brainer. So actually, those allotments are still sitting there in all those cities. Oslo has some of the most expensive real estate in Europe. It still has its allotments. They haven't had to fight their way to exist. Compare and contrast the appalling experience in Britain and Scotland, where allotments were handed out during wars when there was a crisis and there needed to be homegrown food supplies. And a second that the wars were over, that same land was taken back from people because housing was a far more higher priority. Now it's weird. Those other countries which allowed people to hang on to their allotments have houses. They found other places to build them. And Denmark, which must be the epicenter of rationality on all of this one, has even passed a law that relates the number of tenement flats without a garden to the number of allotment spaces with huts that must be provided by each council. As a result of which, it has about 15 to 20 times more allotments than Edinburgh. So the thing about huts is, yes, of course, you can sling a couple of things in the corner, but to be honest, they're not about vegetables. They've not historically been about vegetables. They've been about, and this is the point, everyone finds this so hard, it's not about food, it's not about even exercise, it's about you. It's about you reconnecting with your family in a completely different way that lets you truly relax and feel satisfied.